Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you 7 things that I did that made it possible for me to say goodbye to alcohol. So if this is you, if you're on a journey of either, considering giving up alcohol altogether or wanting to examine your relationship with alcohol, or maybe you've tried to quit and you feel yourself starting to veer back to alcohol, hopefully this will help you. So stick around and let's dive in. So I have not drank for 250 plus days now, having tried to quit alcohol multiple times prior to that and returning to it. A few things, I think, really important things that I did made the big difference in this last time of quitting. And honestly, this last time I quit, it was easy to say goodbye to alcohol. It was easy to make the decision, and once the decision was made, it was easy to leave the habit behind. But there were things that I did that made it possible for that to happen. And so that's what I want to share with you, because I believe that we can't just take something away. I mean, we drink for a reason. It's serving something for us, or we wouldn't do it. Like everything we're doing because we're getting something from it. And you know what alcohol is doing for you, or maybe you're just now starting to explore or question, what is alcohol doing for me? But we're drinking because it's nurturing something for us. It's serving a purpose. Even if it's making us sick and destroying our lives, it's still doing something. For me, alcohol was a social lubricant, and alcohol made me able to be with myself. And alcohol numbed me to my life that I was terrified to face. And alcohol kept me from having to feel the hard feelings that I was afraid to feel. And alcohol just made me feel good. Like, not afterwards, and not anytime I wasn't drinking, I felt like shit. But when I was drinking, I felt good. And so it was really important to, we can't just take something away from ourselves and leave ourselves with nothing, because we'll go back to that thing. Our brain likes efficiency. Our brain likes what's easy, and our brain will go to what it knows. And so if we don't equip ourselves and fill ourselves up with other things that can take the place of alcohol or do what alcohol was doing for us, then it can be really difficult to let it go. It can just be a painful experience to let it go. However, I think if you fill up your life and yourself with the things that will truly nurture you and nourish you, then alcohol will just eventually, it will go, because it will no longer be your best option anymore. It will no longer be your best choice. And, we do the best we can with what we have in any given moment. And when we know better, we do better. So these 7 things I'm going to share with you are all about knowing better and learning a better way to get through life, so that alcohol is no longer something that you need. So the first thing, my first tip, my first step, when I was looking back over, okay, what made it possible for me to finally say goodbye to alcohol? And number 1 was investing in myself. So we cherish things that we've invested in, and we cherish things that are valuable to us, and we spend money on things that are valuable. If you've ever bought a brand new car, you don't go put the cheap, crappy gas in it. Is that maybe you do, but when you spend money on something, you take better care of it. I like to use the example of sunglasses. Like, if I trash sunglasses all the time. Like, I'll step on them or I'll lose them, or they'll get scratched. I find them laying around everywhere, but that's because I buy like $10 sunglasses from Walmart. However, my boyfriend has this very expensive pair of Ray-Bans, and he's had the same sunglasses for years, and he keeps them in his case, and he takes very good care of them, and he always knows where they are. It's because they are valuable. They were an investment, and so he treats them better. And when we are just putting poison in our bodies, and we're feeding ourselves just crap processed food, and we're not resting, and we're not taking care of ourselves. We're sending the subconscious signal to ourselves that we don't have value, that we're not valuable, and that we're not worth much. And so when you make the conscious choice to invest in yourself, be it through, for me, it was coaching. Like, I invested in coaching, and I began to invest in healthier food. And, but it may be that, or maybe you're investing in therapy, or you may invest in a personal trainer, or you may invest in the organic produce. I was so used to telling myself, no, I can't afford that. It's too expensive. And yet I would find money to drink all the time. So we find money for what's important to us. I remember one time, this was years ago when my kids were younger, not having any cash left, and I wanted a bottle of wine so bad. I took some clothes of mine to the consignment store, sold them so that I could buy some wine. So like, we will find money for what's important to us. And so when we choose to invest in ourselves and something, and by investing in yourself, I mean investing in something that is going to improve your life and that is going to improve you as a human. It may be in education, like going back to school or getting trained in something. Investing in yourself means spending money on your future, spending money on, yourself. This can be really hard to do when we have such low self-worth, which, if you struggle with alcohol, you have low self-worth. It's just that simple. Like, if you didn't have it before, you have it after, because being addicted to alcohol or having addictive behavior towards alcohol strips you of your dignity. And you do and say things that make you feel like less of a human being. And you're constantly at war with yourself. I mean, it just ravages your soul, and it ravages your sense of worth and sense of dignity. And so investing in yourself is like sending yourself the opposite message. Like, okay, I am deciding, even though I don't feel like it. Like, you have to invest in yourself before you believe you're worth it, because it's the investment that will start to make you feel worthy. So making the choice, like, I'm going to choose to invest in myself. And it's going to be a leap of faith, and it's going to feel scary, and it's going to feel unfamiliar, and it's going to feel like a waste of money because I don't have a sense of value right now. But when you invest in yourself, you begin to feel differently about yourself, and you start to see yourself as someone who is worth something. So that was really powerful for me, not to mention the positive outcome of having actually invested in myself, like working with a coach and, doing the transformation, getting the transformation that comes with the actual work. So it's like the act of investing in yourself up levels your sense of value. And then the actual work that you do when you do invest in yourself, that's what changes your life. So that was huge. Investing in myself while I was still drinking, investing in myself while I still felt like a piece of shit, like just making the leap. Like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do it. Something has to change. I'm just going to go for it. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today, for sure. So that's number one, invest in yourself and practice self-care. Number two, practice self-care even before you feel like caring for yourself, like, because you're sending yourself the message. You're worthy, you're valuable. I'm going to treasure you. I'm going to take care of you because you're worth something. Number two, this was huge too, is training my brain and reading, consuming books like This Naked Mind by Annie Grace, or Alcohol Lied to Me by, he's British and I can't think of his name. I think it has Gregory in it. Alan Gregory, maybe? I'm not sure. Alcohol Lied to Me. Any of Alan Carr's books, The Easy Way Method, Brain Over Binge, like any of these books that break down the brainwashing and the messaging and what's actually happening in your brain when you're drinking, when you're choosing to engage in a behavior that you don't really want to be engaging in. I read books on habit change. I read books on, the subconscious brain. Like I would listen to these books on Audible while I was driving. I would listen to podcasts. I was just consuming information nonstop, and that helped me to start to think about alcohol in a different way. That's crucial. Like, is our thoughts are what determines our actions, because our thoughts create the feelings. Feelings are what determine what we do. And so when we have to change our brain in order to change our habits. Like, we just have to. And consuming information, learning about the way the brain works and the way that the habit of alcohol, what it does in your body and what's happening in your subconscious, like, is really, really, really powerful to learning how to quit. And you're opening your mind up to different possibilities. You're opening your mind up to new ways of thinking. And it's the only way to change. The only way to ever change is to think differently. We will never fix the problem that we have with the same thoughts that got us to where we are today. Like, if we don't change our thoughts, if we don't change our minds, nothing in our life will change. So that was huge. And I began to follow people who were sober. I've mentioned Hype Girl Healing, but there's tons of people on Instagram. There's tons of people, public figures that are living a sober life. And I began to open my mind up to what life without alcohol might look like, because the brain does not like what's unfamiliar. And we will not choose something that's unfamiliar, because to the brain, that's terrifying. Your brain likes what's known, even if what's known is miserable. Like, we all hear this, the classic example is women in abusive relationships. Like, why would a woman stay in an abusive relationship? Well, I'm sure there's lots of reasons, but one of the things, or a woman leaves an abusive relationship only to get into another one. It's because we like what's familiar. Familiar is safe, even if it is destroying our lives, even if it's causing pain and anguish. If it's familiar and we are alive, to our brain, it's like, well, that's survivable. So why would you change? Your brain's only job is to keep you alive and keep you surviving. It doesn't, your critter brain, your survival brain, doesn't care about your self-development or the quality of life or your relationships or your higher development. Your survival brain's job is to keep you alive. And if you have gotten through life so far, this far, by drinking a bottle of wine a night and you're alive, your brain's like, what's the problem? You're alive. Everything's fine. Don't change. We don't know what the other life might look like. So you better not change, because you might die. That's literally what your brain's telling you. You may die. We don't know that. That's not safe. Don't go there. We like this. We like what we know. And so one of the ways to nurture your brain out of that is to start to give your brain images and things and people and life, so your brain can start to imagine and visualize what life without alcohol will look like. Your brain's going to be a lot more willing to go there and let you experience that life, because it's like, oh, okay, that looks pretty good. Like, I see how she's getting through that hard time. I used to, I mentioned my boyfriend of 4 years does not drink at all, and I used to observe him going through stress, like, he's not drinking. Like, how is he coping? What is he doing? He's a runner, and he runs a lot. That's how one of the ways he copes with stress. But I was just very curious, like, how do people function without alcohol? Like, I really, and I remember having thoughts like, I don't know what I will do with myself at 5 o'clock. What am I going to do on the weekends? That's like, I don't know what life is going to look like. Like, I have no idea. And that was a scary thought and a scary feeling. So, like, following other people, listening to stories, watching how people do it, that helps your brain to make that a possibility for yourself. And along with that, visualizing, like visualizing yourself feeling what it's going to feel like to wake up and not be hungover, visualizing what it's like to like come home from work and cook dinner without the glass of wine, visualizing what you'll do when, you know, you've had a hard day, or you're going out with friends and, you know, everybody's ordering drinks, and like visualizing like yourself like ordering sparkling water and what that's going to feel like, and just making it familiar for your brain so that it's not so scary. That really, really helped. Number I don't know what number I'm on. I've lost count. I'm just going to keep talking. I love those YouTube videos that are like all the steps. You know, I will get there one day. I'll get more organized. Right now I'm just putting content out. So invest in self, read and train your brain, follow people who are sober, visualize. 4 steps. There, I got it. Number 5, this was huge for me. So the 5th thing that I believe helped me say goodbye to alcohol was learning how to feel my feelings. And I actually had a coach, and I coach on this myself, because it's amazing how many people, how many of us, I would say most of us, don't know how to feel what we're feeling. Most of us are so disconnected from our bodies and from our emotions. You know, we have a negative feeling and we judge it, or we tell ourselves that's a bad feeling, you don't want to feel that, or you're wrong for feeling that, you don't need to feel that, or, you know, maybe it's something from our past that's really painful that we, you know, I find in talking with a lot of people who struggle with alcohol, most of us have had a pretty painful past. I mean, there's a reason we start drinking. There's a reason we start numbing ourselves. And so for me, and it took a good 6 months in the beginning to really begin to allow all of those emotions that I had been running from my whole life, like my whole life, to come up and to be felt. And I would have sessions with my coach where I literally just felt feelings from my childhood that had never been allowed to be felt. And I can't tell you what a miracle and what a freeing thing this was for me. Like, it actually removed the desire to drink for me, because what I didn't realize is so much of my desire was just a response to trying to keep down all of those hard feelings and trying to stay disconnected from them, because I didn't know how to go into my body and feel what I was feeling. I stayed completely disconnected. I used to call it compartmentalizing. Like, I got through my divorce and never missed a day of work, and I was very efficient, and it was like, I used to tell myself, well, I'm just great at compartmentalizing. Like, I could literally be sobbing and go into work and be like, everything's fine, everything's great, I'm awesome. And that was just like, I had this capability of just shutting everything off. But you can't live like that. Like, your body, feelings or energy that like demand to be felt, that need to be felt. It's like tension and like actual energy vibrating through your body. And so, like, you know, I'd stay busy at work and I'd be able to compartmentalize, but I'd come home and feelings would start to come up, and that was terrifying. And the only way I knew to not feel, and I didn't even realize at the time I was trying to not feel. I didn't know. I was not conscious of everything that was happening. This is all stuff I've learned since. But I would drink, and that was the easiest way to disconnect from those feelings and to put them back in their box. And you know, the problem is you can't live like that. I mean, you can live like that, but it takes more and more and more to numb, and then it starts to make your body sick, and you start to feel chronic pain, and your relationships fall apart, and you disconnect from everybody, and you don't feel connected to anybody because you're not connected to yourself, and it's just this shit storm. So feeling feelings was the one skill that I learned that changed my life entirely. And it's amazing. And message me if you want to hear more about this, because it really is what transformed everything for me and what made me be able to not need alcohol. So that's number 5, feeling the feelings. And it's okay that we don't know how to feel feelings. No one's taught how to do this. Our parents weren't taught to do this. Our parents did the best they could. You know, very few people know how to let feelings just be felt. And once they're felt, they leave. That's the thing. It's the fear of the feeling that causes all the pain and the suffering. It's the resistance to the feeling that makes us feel all that anxiety. If you are like overwhelmed with anxiety, if anxiety is your main experience in life, most likely that is anxiety of not wanting to feel something. Like you start to feel pain come up, like a rejection or unworthiness or shame or guilt or anger, and you don't want to feel that. And the anxiety is about not wanting to feel that deeper, harder emotion. And so learning to feel that and having the support and having someone hold the space for you to just process those feelings that you're running from will remove a large part of what alcohol was there for. That's why the desire went away from me, because like if there's nothing there that needs to be numbed, there's no reason. My brain's not like, well, we need to numb something. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing there to numb, so there was no need to drink, because I released the emotion and I'm living now. And it's a process. It was a really long process for me. It doesn't happen overnight, but as you learn it and then you start to do it as a daily practice and then you start to do it in the moment, you're living and more and more and more present in your body and in yourself, and you start to get to actually know yourself, and you start to listen to what your body's saying to you, and you start to understand yourself and understand what you truly need, and you start to connect with yourself, and therefore you start to connect with the people around you. And we all know that, you know, this why AA works. And I never did I did go to a couple AA meetings. I take that back, about 8 years ago. But AA wasn't the path of healing for me. But I know that it's a powerful path for so many, and I think the power in it is the connection with other people. So that being said, I think the opposite of addiction is connection. So when you connect to yourself and then you're able to connect to other people, you don't need the alcohol anymore. So number 5, feel the feelings. Number 6, which takes me to number 6, is have support. And I think that the true me, the authentic me, knew I needed and wanted and was headed towards sobriety. I've been fighting for sobriety my whole life, because our true selves want to be present and want to be fully alive. We don't, like, our heart longs for this, right? And so without realizing it, I had kind of drawn into my life a couple of really beautiful souls who didn't drink, you know, and I had connected to different coaches and different women in my life that I knew would support me on this journey. I knew I could text, call in a heartbeat. They would coach me through when I was struggling, and they would help me heal and help me deal with everything. So I had to have that safety system, that support system around. Again, this happened before I gave up drinking. You know, you need to build this for yourself, and start implementing these things for yourself. You know, it's almost like, if you can imagine it, you're just like, you know, if you had a glass with like some really mucky water in the bottom, and if you've seen this in like talks or anything, when you try to like dump out the glass and dump out the mucky water, it just sticks to the sides and it doesn't go anywhere. So it's like, if we're just trying to take alcohol out of our life, it doesn't really work. But if you start to pour into that glass clean water, the clean water like fills up the glass and pushes out the muck, right? It cleans the glass. It just pushes everything that's dirty out. And that's how I quit drinking. I just started filling myself with the things that I truly needed. investing in myself, filling my brain with like hopeful, inspiring stories, information, like filling myself with nourishing food and like taking care of myself, allowing myself to feel my feelings, and then making connections and friendships that I knew would support me in sobriety even before I chose sobriety. That was like pouring in the clean water that pushed out. Finally, there was just no need and no room for alcohol in my life anymore. Which then brings me to number 7, which I think is huge, is dream. Use your imagination. When I began to dream about my future, not the how, not the this feels impossible, there's no way I could do this. I learned that, yeah, the brain is always going to tell you you can't do something that you haven't already done. So I just started to let myself imagine a better life. I started to let myself dream that something else was possible for me, that I could create anything I wanted. I could have the healthy, vibrant vitality that I so longed for. I could have really connected, solid relationships. I could be an amazing mother. I could build my own business. I could have a career and a purpose and, do something in my life that was so fulfilling and inspiring, and I could love my life. And I let myself imagine it before there was any evidence in my life that that was possible. And we have to cling to hope. Like, if we don't believe that there's anything else out there for us, like, why would we quit drinking? Why would we? If this is as good as it gets, what's the problem? Why not just keep drinking? I wrote the other day, like, if the highlight of your day, if the best thing in your life is pouring that glass of wine at 5 p.m., if that's the thing you have to look forward to all day long, if that's what gets you through your hard day of work or your hard day of being with your children, like, is that glass of wine you get to have? If that's the most exciting thing in your life, why would you give up drinking? You have to create a more exciting life. And that starts with imagining it. And it starts with like allowing yourself to, what if there's more? And this is a lot of the work I do with my clients, is starting to just let yourself start to dream again. Let yourself start to imagine some of those dreams you had when you were young, or some of those dreams that are still kind of dormant in your heart. Let breathe life back into those, Or maybe if you're like me, for years, like, I had no idea what those dreams were. I had so shut myself off to my heart and to my desires and to my voice, and I was so disconnected from my own self that I did not know what I wanted. If that question, if there was no time restraints and no monetary restraints, what would you do with your life? And I couldn't answer that question. I didn't know. And so number 7 sounds fun. Imagine and dream. That was hard work for me. That was really hard for me and I had to move through the feeling stuff to be able to get to the imagination part. But you can borrow from other people's lives. If you can't see it for yourself, then who are you envious of? Who do you look at and you're like, man, I wish I had that life? Why can't you? Who says you can't have it? Who says you can't? It's just a thought in your head. It's just a story you're telling yourself that you can't have it, that someone else gets to have it, but you don't, because you've just fucked up too much. You just gave away too much. You wasted too much of your life drinking. You threw too much away. No, never true. Never true. You can always start over, always, and you can create an entirely new life for yourself. So that's it, my friends. There's lots more. I would be happy to have a conversation with anybody who's on this journey. Also, if you are interested in coaching, message me. I do work one-on-one with clients to create the life of their dreams and to, develop that relationship with themselves, to to turn self-loathing into self-love. And that's everything. That's everything. So I hope this helps someone. Please share it if there's someone you know who's struggling, and I would welcome any and all comments. If you are considering giving up drinking, if you're on the journey, if you're on the path of giving up drinking, yay. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened for me. It's the best decision I've ever made, is taking my life back in this way. So, all my love, and carry on.